Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis and Miss D. Say hi, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
So, what do we have going on this week? Well, we are at the midway point for the month. And so there's a bunch going on in development, a bunch taking shape. As always, we'll go through what is going on in development. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to do at Miss D underscore, that's me, in chat. And we'll get to as many questions as we have the opportunity to. Also, real quick before we get into development news, what's going on with server wipes today? Well, the wipes are for Rustafied servers. The weekly and bi weekly Thursday wipe servers are wiping today at their regular scheduled time for the region, which is 3 p.m. local time for each region, which means that EU wiped 3 hours ago, AU and SEA wiped like 12, 13 hours ago, and the US servers will wipe in 2 hours at 3 p.m. EST. It's going to be your mains, your mediums, your trios, smalls, barons, RIP Baron, I'll get to that shortly, and Zen Labs. So that is what's going on with server wipes today. Also, just a reminder, it is a 5 Thursday month. And so the bi weekly servers, they wiped today, they wiped at Forced, and then they wiped again today. They will actually wipe again on the, I believe it's the 30th. And then after that, they'll have a 1 week wipe cycle between that and the update in December on December 7th. So that's what's going on with the bi weekly wipes this month, given we have a 5 Thursday month. Okay, anyway, let's get into it. What is going on in development? Well, first and foremost, we're talking about this M4 shotgun. And I want to give a quick shout out to German guy who just messaged me and clarified some stuff. None of this is confirmed, but it sounds right based on what he's saying and what the other commits are going. So originally we saw this just the other week, this shotgun uh, branch show up, like B underscore shotgun, but then on it they're doing all this M4 shotgun textures and models and stuff like that. And that's the M4 shotgun is a Benelli tactical shotgun, and it actually, I believe, was the shotgun from Legacy. And bear with me here. If you look at the commits this week, also, they're working on some Legacy stuff. The Legacy shack or shelter, I always called it a shit shack. The bow, the Legacy bow, and the Legacy furnace. And so the thought is this M4 shotgun might actually not be a new shotgun to come in the game, which I totally get because no one's clamoring down the doors of Face Punch to get another military grade tactical shotgun in the game. So instead of that, it looks like maybe this is going to be an upcoming DLC or something like the Legacy DLC, where they bring back a couple legacy items in the form of a DLC. And so instead of it being like a brand new shotgun, it's more likely going to be a skin uh, of a shotgun in the game already. So that's the thought. None of this is confirmed. As always, if you're not aware, we're not developers of the game. We're not on the Face Punch payroll. We're just fans of the game like you who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. So yeah, we don't know for sure what this is going to be, but given the different legacy items that are appearing in various different branches in development currently on the commits feed, it does make me think, yeah, maybe they're, and hey, they've been releasing a lot of DLCs recently. This is the year of Rust DLCs for damn sure. So it would not surprise me that another one is in the works, because that has been the route they're going recently. So maybe we'll have a legacy DLC coming in, and that will introduce some legacy items, and maybe that M4 shotgun will be part of that DLC and one of the items that come in. So nothing is. Oh, and now that I said all that, oh, now that I said all that, German guy just messaged me again and said, "Guess it's not a DLC." Ali just responded, so never mind. Undo everything I just said. Once again, we're not developers of the game. We're just independent organization. So maybe it's not a DLC. at all. Maybe they are just bringing back some legacy items, which I think would be awesome. That legacy shit shack, man. How great was that? That was like everyone's first base back in Legacy. You just plop that. If you're not familiar, it's not even a foundation and any building blocks. It's just a placeable, deployable, like outhouse size thing that you can plop a door on. And it didn't really provide much protection, but it was something, some protection against the elements. And I think that would be cool to come back into the game. And some other legacy stuff, some throwbacks. Also, keep in mind the Frontier base DLC, not the base decor DLC that came out earlier this month, but the base skin of Frontier is what it's being called. I believe it's going to be the first wood tier building skin in the game. That is kind of in and of itself a throwback to Legacy because it's got those like long boards as the style and everything. And what was kind of the building style of Legacy. So that's kind of just a throwback in and of itself. But as always, what we will do is keep you posted as more information comes to light. Will this be a brand new shotgun in the game, the M4? Will it be some legacy items coming in? It apparently will not be a DLC because that was sort of just pseudo confirmed from Ali via German guy. So we'll keep you up to date as more information comes to light. There's also another potential new item being worked on in the game, and that is a metal detector. And this is one that we're seeing the initial commits on over the past week or so on a separate branch on a metal detector. Ooh, one more thing. German guy is coming in saying, looks like they will be new items and no money to spend. No, not a DLC. And I think a lot of people like that. I have no problem with them adding DLCs. I'll just say, I think this game is 10 years in development. In order to have this game continue be developed and continue to be a viable game, the developers need to monetize it in some way. And DLC, especially if it's not like pay to win stuff, DLCs are a great way to monetize. You know, you give the people who want to spend the money the ability to customize different things in the game. The developers keep making money such that they can keep developing the game. And if you don't want to spend the money, you don't have to. You can still play the game. So for the record, I am all for the developers releasing DLCs all the time, providing they're not any pay to win stuff. And they've been pretty good about that. But it doesn't look like this will be a paid item or a DLC. It looks like these things might just be like a legacy throwback, maybe for an update sometime next year. So that's going to be cool to see. It's great. It's a little dose of nostalgia for anyone who was around in the legacy times, which I was, and it'll be cool to see some of those things come back. Anyway, metal detector is also being worked on. Not clear exactly what this is going to be used for. I mean, maybe the upcoming player quarries coming back, and the metal detection will be a piece of that. Maybe there'll be some other facets of it, but regardless, it is in development. It looks like they've got some placeholder art for the metal detector itself. And then they're working on the UI and various UI elements for detection of metals utilizing that metal detector. So nothing visual yet to show off. As you can see, it's another week of Artemis very calmly, peacefully scrolling through the landscape or lerping through the landscape of Rust. Because there isn't a lot to show off on the staging branch this week, but that metal detector is in the works, and we will keep an eye on that branch, and especially once it gets merged in, have all the information on Rustafied.com on what you need to know about this new item. Also going on in development, we got Hack Week does continue, and if you were here or paying attention last week, you'll have noted that a couple of the developers started some new Hack Week projects. And if you're not familiar, a Hack Week project is kind of when, or I guess I should just say a Hack Week in general, is when the team at Facepunch says, okay, devs, stop working on whatever you were told to work on and just start working on whatever you feel like would be a great addition to the game. So it's kind of these not necessarily planned out or mapped out things, but it's just new functionality that could potentially make it into the game. and the devs get like a week or so to work on it, and then I guess the team reviews and sees if it's viable. And we've seen hack weeks before, and we've even seen hack week projects make their way into the game in the form of the top that comes to my mind is the chat emojis. That was a hack week project for a while, and now it is a full fledged functionality of the game. And then various other hack week projects we never see make the light of day or come to fruition in the full fledged game, like the air bases, which was an interesting one, but it never, made it in. So we've got a bunch of new Hack Week projects that have been started. They were started last week. It doesn't seem like they're too 100% tied to the Hack Week stuff being an exact week. I think the devs get a bit longer than that, especially if they're finding their stride with the project and it looks like it might be viable as an addition to the game. So a couple of ones we're seeing, most interesting to me, honestly, is this in-game code editor thing. And it's the Rust expressions, I think is what it's being called in the branch in the commits. But at first, last week, I thought maybe this was just something for the devs to code stuff on the fly in game. But in fact, this week, based on the commits, it looks like this might actually be the functionality of some actual like logic boards or like player programmed chips, like computer chips in the game. So I think what might be going on here, and once again, take it all with a grain of salt, and this might never see the light of day in the game, but it might be the ability for players to actually create a codable item in the game and then actually write code behind the logic of how that item is going to work and then actually be able to hook it up into the industrial system or other systems in the game. So it'd kind of be like this own ability to code your own things on like logic boards or on computer chips in the game, and then actually have those chips deployed in the game in a way that they work and the logic of them actually changes the state of the game. So interesting to see for sure. I'm going to keep a close eye on that one. Also, it looks like there's more work on a new skin viewer. This is something we've seen, I feel like we've seen a couple different times. And it's definitely something that's needed, not for normal players, because normal players never have to deal with this really. I mean, I could see an in-game skin viewer come in and that be of service to players, but the main skin viewer now is for people who create skins and then upload and publish those skins on the game. And I've had the pleasure of using that for the charitable Rust skins. And yeah, I definitely see there could be room for improvement there on that skin viewer. So that's always cool to see them working on potentially new skin viewer and improvements there. There's also more work this week on voxel rating. And you might recall this one from last week. You might have seen a video from Jake Rich, one of the developers, who is working on this project. And what voxel rating is basically splitting up the different segments of the wall so that when an explosion goes off, it doesn't just damage or completely destroy just each wall or each base building block. It actually splits the building blocks into various different sections. And then based on the damage and the physics of the explosion, it will just destroy some of those sections, not all. So it makes it a much more dynamic experience for like base destruction and things like that. There's just a lot more going on. And it looks like they're working on adding the ability to repair in a voxel form as well. So as with all Hack Week projects, not sure if this will actually make it into the game, but it does definitely provide a much more interesting like visual and process of rating if it were all voxelized kind of. So keep an eye on that one. Another interesting one is the Gamagachi work, and this is of course the kind of Rust version of a Tamagotchi. So those handheld with the very simple ASCII kind of screen, and I guess you just feed it and keep it alive. But that handheld game classic Tamagotchi thing is potentially coming into Rust in the form of a Gamagachi. So we're keeping an eye on that one. And then finally, with regards to Hack Week projects, we've got Contact Shadow Intensity. being worked on, and that's just basically just uh, changing different things with the shadow intensity with foliage and making certain shadows cast by foliage not super super dark like they are now. So basically just improving kind of the overall look and feel of the game via modifying some shadows and how they interact with various different elements in the game. So that's the final hack week thing. And with all these things, we'll keep you posted. Not sure which ones are going to make their way in. I think that in-game ability to code your own chips and your own logic boards in the game would be really cool. I think the voxel rating would be really cool. And shit, the Tamagotchi would be kind of cool too, I guess. I don't know. I never got into Tamagotchis in real life, so I don't know that I would in Rust, but I definitely, it could be a cool thing for people to do in their base at night when it's dark out and they're waiting for the sun to come up. So that's what's going on in Hack Week. Also, there are a bunch of miscellaneous fixes being worked on, and that does seem like one of the priorities of the developers as a whole this month is just looking at various different little fixes that are outstanding and implementing those and getting those into the game. One of the big ones, and this is actually a huge one as a server owner, and you might have noticed this on some servers, especially populated servers that haven't wiped recently. Electricity is breaking on a lot of servers, and this came about when they the other month limited the amount of turrets that could be in one area. And something about what they did there just caused certain turrets to break sometimes. And when they break in a certain way, it kind of breaks electricity for the whole server. And that's a real problem, obviously, for server owners because electricity is now a huge part of the game. And if it stops working, well, the server's kind of screwed in certain ways. So that it looks like they're working on fixing that. It is not fully fixed now in the current version of the game. We are still having issues in some of our servers with electricity. But hopefully for the December 7th update, they will have a fix for this electricity stuff. And that is one of the things that is being prioritized and being worked on as a fix. Also, a couple other fixes, player inventory preview not displaying correct clothing after assigning a player to a wanted poster. There's a couple other fixes with the base decor DLC items, like don't allow trophy bags to be marked as on and show the cooking symbol if they are an inventory of a horse and a player mounts that horse. Kind of fringe stuff, fix multiple T and pet vital bars appearing in certain instances. Fix some wire tool exceptions when attempting to make an industrial connection through solid objects. Fixing water guns not correctly applying the last burst of water. Some labeling of the power input on an audio alarm. Various different things, some different adjusting the sleep threshold. And yeah, because in some cases, people are going to sleep in bad positions, things like that. So there's a number of different miscellaneous fixes being worked on and making their way in. And on top of that, there's a slew of other stuff being worked on. Just today, we saw some big changes to the despawn time of various items, including diesel. So diesel will now not despawn for 60 minutes. And a bunch of other miscellaneous things have been changed so they don't despawn. A lot of them were despawning in 5 minutes, and now they'll take either 20, 40, or even 60 minutes to despawn. So that's a little quality of life stuff coming in. They also increased the stack size of the HBHF sensor from 1 to 5. And this is one that was just announced. Barren maps are apparently being retired. So if you're not familiar, Barren is a form of procedural map generation, but they basically take out a lot of the foliage and a lot of various other things that is more taxing on computers. And the Barren maps were mainly for people running a lower spec PC who need to, squeeze every frame per second out of it. And a lot of people like Barren maps because it's more optimized like that. They get better FPS on it. But honestly, not a ton of people play Barren maps. And I can see where the devs are coming from on this one because nothing has really changed with Barren in several years. And as they change things in normal procedural map generation, they always have to account for Barren. And if hardly anyone's playing Barren, and it's this thing that they always have to account for every time they update anything in ProcGen, I could see why that would be a pain in the ass and they'd want to get rid of it. And so it looks like Barren maps are being retired, and that's probably going to be this month. We do run at Rustafied, we run two Barren servers, a US and an EU Barren. As it stands now, I don't know what we're going to do with those. We might just shut them off. We might switch them to something else. I'm not really sure. This all happened so fast. It just happened today, actually. So I haven't had a chance to really figure out what we're going to do with our Barren servers, but it does look like Barren is no more. And RIP Barren. There's also some miscellaneous work on the Twitch Rivals event next month. So Twitch Rivals, I guess it's 4 now, if I'm reading my Roman numerals properly. The Twitch Rivals event is going to go off next month. It's, I think, part of the 10-year anniversary of the game as well. And so they're working on various things with that. They're doing some more work on some new explosions. So that explosion SFX will hopefully at some point be looking new and looking better. They're also doing more work on the Power Plant 2.0. So this is an update or a new version, a new iteration to the Power Plant Monument, as it's being dubbed Power Plant 2.0. No visuals on that yet. Not really sure if this is going to totally replace the power plant on every map, or if this is going to be a ancillary power plant or a different one. I feel like it's going to be the former, not the latter. I feel like it's going to just replace the power plant, but we'll keep you posted as always. They're working on a bit milder post-processing effects for various different things like cold, hot, hurt, radiation. So those post-processing effects maybe won't be as noticeable on your screen or as impactful on your screen at some point in the future. They're also working on Tutorial Island some more. This is over on the aux 2 branch, which is not available for public consumption at the moment, but is where they generally do put their new functionality that's not quite ready for public testing, but almost ready for testing and definitely ready for internal testing. So that Tutorial Island stuff, not sure if it will come in for December. They do have a couple weeks, but based on what we were seeing with the Tutorial Island stuff, it's something that new players will have an option. It's probably going to be its own type of server from what we're seeing, and new players will have the ability to join that server. It'll kind of spawn an island just for that player, and they'll be alone on that island, and then on that island they'll run through a couple different missions with NPCs and things like that to kind of get the ropes of the game and how certain base dynamics of the game work. So probably not something that experienced players are ever going to touch, but is a cool kind of onboarding thing and helping with that learning curve kind of thing for new players coming into the game. They also updated modding ore spawner prefabs to use proper scaled versions. That's a thing. And they added a small spawner prefab variant for cave size ores as well. So that's some stuff for, I think, modders or custom map makers. As I mentioned before, there's more work on the legacy shelter, as it's being called, the OG shit shack, if you will. And once again, it looks like maybe it doesn't look like it's going to be a DLC, but it looks like maybe just some legacy items from the game, including the furnace, that shit shack, the M4 shotgun, and that original bow might be coming into the game sometime in the next couple months as a kind of nostalgic throwback, if you will. They're also doing more preparation on the gingerbread skin and a little bit on the Frontier building skin too. So not sure when the Frontier building skin is going to be coming in. I think it is possible we could see that as a DLC, as a base building DLC for December. But it does look like regardless, the gingerbread skin is going to be coming in for the holiday event, for the Rust Xmas event. And I don't think that's going to be a DLC per se. I think that's just going to be something that players can choose to design their bases with and have a gingerbread base during the Xmas event, which will probably be about 2 weeks at the end of December running through the new year, as we have seen that for previous years running. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be just a gingerbread base design that people will be able to use during that Xmas event. And then finally, they added 3 additional stone tiled cube prefabs, which is something for modders or custom map makers, nothing that really players will really be concerned about. But hey, they were added. And that about does it for what's going on in Rust development for the week. Miss D, we got any questions from the audience?
Not a whole lot, but when is Whip?
So whips today are at regular scheduled time. This is for Rustafied servers. It is regular scheduled time for the region, which is 3 p.m. local time for the region, which means most regions have already wiped, and most servers for Rustafied have already wiped today. That includes EU servers wiped, what is that, 3 hours and 25 minutes ago. AU and SEA wiped like 12, 13 and a half hours ago. And the US servers will wipe at 3 p.m. Eastern. So in an hour and a half, we'll see US main, mediums, trio, small, Barren, and Zen Labs all map wipe.
Is there anything cool coming in today, or is it just skins?
It looks like it's just going to be skins. Generally speaking, we don't see like new items make their way into the game mid-month. New items generally come in for, and also DLCs generally come in on the first Thursday of every month, which is when the big update and forced map wipe happen. And so, given we're mid-month, I don't think anything's coming in. There's no hotfix or update expected. And in fact, there's not even a whole lot to show off on staging here, as we do see Artemis just kind of lerping through the landscape. Because, yeah, a lot of it's still on separate branches, a lot of it's still in development. So basically, some things are shaping up, and we'll see an update in 3 weeks on December 7th. And that's where any of these new items, like maybe the metal detector, will come in, maybe some of these legacy items. Maybe we'll see that new Frontier base decor or base building DLC. But as it stands today, nothing changing, nothing coming in the game.
I know you already talked about this early stream, but do you think Shotgun will be a DLC?
Yeah, that's a little up in the air. First and foremost, it doesn't look like it's going to be a DLC because Alistair pretty much just told German guy, and the German guy told me. So we're playing a little game of telephone here, but that these legacy items are not going to be a DLC. When I first saw the M4 shotgun, it looked like it was just going to be a new shotgun to enter the game, and it still might be, but I would group that with the other legacy items that are being worked on. And of course, I didn't group it like that in my article because kind of this all just came to light just before we started streaming. But it looks like they're working on several legacy items to bring back, including the M4 shotgun, the OG furnace, the OG bow and arrow, and that, remember that shit shack, the little like shack that was deployable and you could get, it looks like those are the 4 items from legacy that are being worked on coming back, and it looks like they'll probably just be new items in the game. So yeah, it might be a new shotgun, and it might come there maybe in January or something. We'll see like a legacy update, and that will be the reintroduction of a couple of these nostalgic kind of items from the original legacy version of the game. Will we have red rat animals come back? I doubt it, but it does look like a couple of these items will be making a reappearance.
Did they change the limit on turrets?
Well, the other month they did. They launched that limitation of turrets, and since then it hasn't, that I'm aware of, changed. Like they introduced that limitation the other month, and it's been there since. Unfortunately, in introducing that limitation, it does look like they broke something with electricity. It's not broken on all servers, but it is prone to breaking, especially on populated servers that haven't wiped recently and have a lot of electricity and a lot of turrets going on. Um, but yeah, the other month they did put that limitation on the turrets. I haven't seen anything change with that. I haven't seen a delimitation of those turrets since.
Is Rustafied going to sponsor the Rivals event as well?
No, we're not part of that. That's mostly run by Restoria, I think, and they're the ones that have worked with Face Punch for the previous Rivals event. So yeah, we never had anything really to do with Rivals, and we're not part of it this year. But I'm definitely going to tune in a bit and take note and retweet and support them how I can. But no, it's not really, we're not part of anything with the production or anything with that.
What is the default turret limit for an area?
What is it again?
It's 12 per square as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. So, and that's something that can be changed by server owners. Although on Rustafied servers, we're not going to change it because we're vanilla official servers. And so we have to keep a lot of these variables intact with their vanilla state. And that is one of them. But yeah, 12 per area, I think.
I think this is a face punch question. When is their 10-year anniversary, alpha or full?
That I don't know because, yeah, I really don't know. Because I started playing Rust Legacy in like 2013, which was 10 years ago. I feel like the alpha version was out longer than that. I'm not really sure where they get the 10-year and when they actually chose the birthday. But and I did see someone in chat hypothesizing maybe the legacy items will come back for the 10th anniversary. That would make a lot of sense actually. Good call on that one. So maybe that's kind of part of the 10th anniversary thing is bringing back some of these nostalgic legacy items into the game. That would make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, I feel like the alpha version, and I'm sure some quick Googling or wikiing could, shed light on this, but I feel like the alpha version of Rust was out before 10 years ago from now. Um, but for whatever reason, they picked December as their birth date. And we've seen various birthday cakes and things like that over the years come out for the December update. And this is the 10th one. So they're doing a little bit more for it, it would appear.
Is there a fix in for the building if you're building too close to another building error?
They did release a couple of hot fixes last week for the various issues that appeared with building placement after the last force wipe at the beginning of the month. I have the sense there might still be some issues at play that aren't resolved yet, and hopefully we do see resolution for the December update for those. But I do know a lot of improvements were made because when the force wipe came out this month, a lot of people were complaining about building placement and things like that, and they did release a couple hot fixes for that.
I see someone say, no, it happened when with legit putting a wall on your own foundation too.
Yeah, there definitely were some placement issues that were wonky as shit after the force swipe. Once again, I think a lot of that, the real bad ones and the real obvious ones, were fixed in a hot fix last week, but I do have the sense some might still be at play.
So I think let's do a recap. I think questions are a little slow since we don't
Cool.
have much to show.
Yeah, we'll do a little recapity cap here. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to do at Miss D underscore that's me in chat. So we are at the midway point for the month of development. It is a 5 Thursday month this month. So what that means for server wipes, at least with Rustified servers, is if you're working with one of our bi-weekly wipe servers like a trio or a medium, they wiped at force wipe, they wipe again today, and they'll wipe again on the 30th. But then on the 30th to December 7th, they will just have a 1 week wipe cycle because 5 Thursdays. So that's just a heads up on what's going on with bi-weekly wipes this month. What's going on in development? It does look like a number of legacy items are being worked on, including an M4 shotgun, the original furnace, the original bow and arrow, and that original shit shack, that legacy shelter, so to speak, which was a single deployable item that was kind of like the size of an outhouse that you could slap a door on and you got a little shelter from. So it looks like they are working on a series of legacy items to bring back into the game. Word on the street is it's not going to be a DLC. It looks like it might just be a theme for an update, and it might even be for the December update because December is the 10-year kind of birthday of Rust. They are doing a Twitch Rivals event to help celebrate that, and maybe they'll add some legacy stuff into the game for that 10-year birthday event. hopefully it'll just stay in the game forever, but we'll see. But one of those things is an M4 shotgun being worked on. That's a tactical Benelli made shotgun, and no visuals on that yet. All this stuff is pretty much on a separate branch. Also, another new item being worked on is a metal detector. That's, I mean, I'm sure you all have seen those old dudes walking around the beach with a metal detector. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be something like that. You'll wave it on the ground, it will detect metal below the ground. Not sure exactly how this is going to be rolled out in the game, what the real functionality is. Will it be for, they have been working on bringing back the player quarries, and so maybe this will be another way to detect a good, metal vein for your quarry or something like that. Maybe it'll be for finding hidden stashes. I don't know, but they are working on a metal detector for the game. No visuals on that yet. It looks like they've got placeholder art, and they're working on the kind of the UI elements for just detecting the metals. So more on that as it comes to light. We'll let you know. There's also Hack Week continues, and this is where developers put aside what they were working on and pick a small project that they would love to see added to the game, and they work on it for a week or two or three, and maybe it makes it into the game, maybe it doesn't. So take all these Hack Week projects with a grain of salt, but one of them looks like this kind of in-game code editor thing that, from the commits, and I could be wrong, but it looks like this will allow players to kind of code their own logic boards and like computer chips in the game, and then hook them up to maybe industrial stuff or electrical stuff to have more complex kind of rationale and more complex thinking and stuff with various different elements in the game. So that's a very interesting one. There's also a new skin viewer being worked on. There's the voxel rating being worked on. The voxel rating, of course, is, and you might have seen the video from last week from Jake Rich, but it's where different parts of the walls or the base building blocks get destroyed individually instead of like the whole wall just being up or being destroyed. It splits everything up into smaller pieces so that it's kind of more dynamic and just kind of looks better when you're rating. And they're working on the voxel repairing as well, from the looks of it. Not sure if this is going to make it into the game, but it's definitely an interesting one. They're also working on a Rust version of the Tamagotchi, known as the Gamagotchi. Not sure if this is going to make it in the game also, but it would be just a handheld game for within your game to keep a Tamagotchi alive. And they're also doing some work on contact shadow intensity stuff, just basically tweaking how the shadows show up and making sure certain shadows aren't too dark or things like that. They're also working on a slew of fixes. It definitely seems like one of the big priorities this week is, or this month even, is just identifying and resolving a lot of these miscellaneous fixes in the game. One of the big ones in my book is the electricity bug, which came about with the turret limitations and things like that. Since then, electricity has been prone to breaking on certain higher pop, lower wiped servers, and it's still an issue. So hopefully these fixes they're working on this month do resolve it for next month. They're also working on a bunch of different fixes for various things with the wanted posters and the DLC items that came with the Frontier Base DLC. Just a couple things with that. They're fixing multiple T and pet vital bars appearing at certain times. Some fixes for wire tools exceptions and various different things. Just a whole bunch of miscellaneous fixes, really. I'm not going to read every single word of it off, but if you want to see a summary of them in list form, head over to rustafied.com and you can see a full list there. There are a couple more that are being worked on, so it does seem like this is going to be a big month for just miscellaneous fixes, which, hey, that's a great way to round up the year, is just cleaning up all these miscellaneous issues with the game. There's also a whole slew of other things being worked on, some balance things with the despawn time of diesel and various other items was just increased this morning. So a lot of those items will now despawn in 60 minutes. Some are 20 or 40, but a lot of them were just despawning in 5 minutes, which was too quick. And so they're just upping the despawn time of a lot of those. They've also increased the stack size of the HBHF sensor from 1 to 5. Unfortunately, Barren maps are being retired. This was just announced before, and not a ton of people play Barren, but If you're unfamiliar, Barren is a type of procedural map generation and a type of server that caters towards those with lower spec PCs where every frame per second counts. And so on these Barren procedurally generated maps, they generated without a lot of things like different terrain elements, different bushes, and things like that. And all of that was to run more optimized and at a better FPS. But unfortunately, that is being retired. I can't say I'm shocked because once again, not a ton of people play Barren in the grand scheme of the people who play Rust. And if you think about it from a development standpoint, every time they update a procedurally generated map or some elements on the procedurally generated maps, I'd imagine they have to, in some manner, shape, or form, account for Barren maps. And it's like, at what point does it not become worth it to account for these Barren maps because hardly anyone's playing it, and it's just taking up time. So I get where they're coming from with that, and RIP Barren. We still don't know exactly what we're going to do. We run 2 Barren servers, so we're not sure exactly what's going to happen with those, but we'll keep you up to date over the next couple of weeks as more comes to light. Once again, this like literally just dropped as news this morning, so we haven't had time to figure it out quite yet. They're also doing some more work on new explosions, so the graphics, the FX for explosions might be looking nicer and newer at some point in the near future. They're working on a new power plant 2.0, so an update to that monument. They're doing some work on making the post-processing effects for cold, hot, hurt, radiation, and the Arctic biome a little milder, so they're not as impactful on the screen. Tutorial Island is being worked on some more over on the Aux 2 branch. This is going to be for new people joining the game. A certain type of server from the looks of it that they can join, and they'll spawn onto an island by themselves and get some various different tutorials and missions to learn the ropes of the game. No word on when that's going to make it in, but we're keeping an eye on it. As I mentioned before, there's some more work on some legacy items. So will they come next month as kind of an homage for the 10-year birthday of Rust? Maybe. We'll see. But it definitely looks like that original shelter, legacy shelter, the M4 shotgun, the bow and arrow, and the legacy furnace are all making potentially a comeback here in the near future. They're also working on the gingerbread skin. This is a new building skin for the Xmas event next month. So people will be able to build gingerbread houses when that Xmas event goes live, probably mid-December. They're also working on the latest building skin DLC, the Frontier building skin. Not sure if that's going to go live in December or not either, but we saw a couple little things be worked on with that. And they added some different like stone cube prefabs for custom map makers and for modders and stuff like that. So a couple of things in the background, not really going to impact players directly, but I bet some map makers and some modders are really happy to see that stuff come in. And that's about it with the recapity cap of what's going on in development for this week.
Okay, more questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we have a few left. Is there any plans for a server with a larger map than 4K?
Yeah, we're actually so this is one thing I'll just share with you guys. You might have noticed if you play Rustafied servers this month, we started playing with dynamic population. Now, this is something that literally every other community, from what I've seen, already does and has been doing, especially the ones on the official list. They'll have a system that basically, based on amount of people trying to get in and queue size and all this stuff, ups the max pop of the server, allowing for the most people to come in after wipe. And then it's got to get lower over time because of performance, basically. So you might have noticed we have started playing with that on some of our servers this month. And so if you're looking at like a medium and you're like, why are there so many people in here after wipe? That's because we're playing with dynamic population on our servers. It's something that we didn't do for the longest time, and a ton of other people do. It's kind of become the industry standard. And so we wanted to give it a shot. And so we are. But within that, we've got our mains going up to 800 plus population. And that makes the 4K maps a little small. So it's all to say, yes, we are playing with doing either 4250 or 4500 size map on our main servers, the ones that get really big. And we'll play with that going forward as well. Because, yeah, it's this balance. You want to fit a lot of people into the server. You want to give people access to play when they want to play, but you don't want performance to go to shit. And you want the map size to be, a good size for not only day one population, but day 10 populations. So we're playing with it, and it's all to say a long-winded way of saying, yeah, we'll probably up the map size a little bit.
What item were you really excited for that fizzled when it made it into game?
Ooh, good question. Man, people making me think over here.
I think for me it's like all the water stuff, even sharks and stuff, even though they scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's true. I thought we'd
Like the
see more.
boats and all that stuff, yeah.
I thought we'd see more extravagant Molotov raiding than we have done.
Yeah. Also a good answer. Yeah, I wish horse riding was a little less janky, but yeah. But I wouldn't say
You
horses
don't get
flop,
stuck everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting because there have been some things like I'm thinking back to they got rid of the blueprint system for a while. They had like um, a leveling system where you unlock blueprints at different levels, and that I really wasn't sure about when it came out, and then it did kind of just flop, and then they reverted to this blueprint system. It's really been interesting to see the things that have been added and the changes over the years. So yeah, it makes it hard at this end to pinpoint, an individual one, but there definitely have been a ton of changes over the years, some more well received than others.
I typed in chat earlier that I really miss when we could find like BPs in barrels and stuff like that. I think it was more exciting to get the BPs than it is now.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Okay, next. Let me see. It seems like the ad issue has been fixed now, so thank you.
Oh, I'm glad. I meant to mention that and then totally
Yeah.
forgot. I literally was thinking about it right before we started streaming. I'm like, make sure you mention that and ask if it's better, and then I totally fucking forgot. But yeah, I'm glad to hear it's better. I went in there, I got out. We had been enrolled in this ad incentive program, which I don't know what the fuck that is. And then like the ads per hour were up to 5 minutes for some reason, and I turned it down to as low as I could, which I think is like 30 seconds per hour. I got rid of pre-roll ads, I think. I tried to disable every ad on there because it's like ads are friggin' garbage. They disrupt your experience. I'll be straight. They don't make us shit for money anyway. Like if if I was able to buy a new house off the ad revenue, I might not turn it off, but they don't make shit anyway. It just ruins everyone's experience. So yeah, I went in there after the stream last week and really dialed everything back down. I'm not sure why or how it got dialed up in the first place, but um, I'm glad to hear it's better. And yeah, I wish there could just be no ads, but I don't even have that option apparently. You'd think as a Twitch partner I could just say no to ads, but I can't.
I see original Jake say, I missed the tracking system of who made the items.
Oh yeah. I mean that did kind of become a clusterfuck over time, but that was a cool thing to be able to see, huh?
So I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, I think we'll wind this puppy down a little early here. It is kind of a slow news week, nothing really to show off, but I do so appreciate y'all tuning in as always. And yeah, and Artemis and Miss D, as always, thank you for being my co-MCs.
As always, you're welcome.
Yeah, have a great week, guys. You're welcome.
Yeah, and yeah, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Just a reminder, we're an independent organization. We're just fans of the game, like you, who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. We're not on the Facepunch payroll, and we're not developers of the game. So thank you so much for the support, because we wouldn't be able to do what we do, run the servers we do, and show up and report on development news like we do without that support from the community. So specifically to everyone who watches, who gives bits, people who subscribe on Twitch, and to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so much for the support. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place as always, to give you an update on what's going on in development. Although I do note next week is Thanksgiving for us, so it will probably be a shorter update preview stream than usual, just because I got a turkey to cook and I got a bunch of in-laws coming over, and I got to show them what a proper Thanksgiving dinner is, because they're all Chinese and they've never had a proper Thanksgiving dinner. And it is also my favorite dinner of the year. I love that meal so much. So it's all to say, yeah, probably a shorter stream next week, but we'll be back. We're not going to take a day off. We'll be back same time, same place. And as always, you can check out Rustafied on X and go to rustafied.com. We do an article every week, every Thursday, that goes through what's going on in development news. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Once again, thank you all so much. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.